Buenas tardes, good afternoon. Bienvenidos a ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? Welcome to ¿Qué pasa, Mujer? We're excited that you guys are here with us today. Nos pueden ver todos los domingos a las 4 de la tarde por Pot TV and Roku, o nos pueden ver live on Facebook. So we're here every Sunday at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time through, if you have a Roku TV, through Pot TV, or also live through Facebook. So today we don't have any special guests, just the regular special people. So myself, Nikte, and Maddie. So we can bring them on board, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Hi, Nikte. You're muted. You're muted.
I totally forgot I was muting. I was clearing my throat. Buenas tardes. Hola, hola. Here we go.
Buenas tardes, ¿qué pasa?
¿Qué pasa, mujeres?
So today,
it's Viviana's birthday.
Yes. Yeah, there goes my mom.
Cumpleaños.
Wait, you gotta wait for my cue. 1, 2, 3.
Cumpleaños feliz.
Te deseamos a ti.
Cumpleaños, querida Viviana.
Happy birthday. Oh, cumpleaños.
I
forgot which language, but yes. Felicidades.
I appreciate it.
Felicidades, prima.
Yes,
que cumplas muchos más.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I'm 45, but like I don't know what that feels like. So I don't know if I'm really 45 or not.
It just feels like you're living life to the fullest.
Yeah. So like I told you guys, like I celebrate the entire month, but I really celebrate all the time. And I kind of got that from my grandmother, because she says, when it's my birthday, it's just my birthday. It's just another day. But she was like, I really celebrate every day. So I like that. But thank you, Mami, por feliz cumpleaños from Lily Matos. That's my mom. She's like my number one fan all the time.
Aww.
Yeah. But this week, I don't think that there was anything specific, but I just, like I'm big on gratitude and making sure that I do it on a daily basis. But this week I saw a lot of my older students, and now they're older. So it was nice to see them, and it made me feel not old, but it just made me feel like I've accomplished a lot of things and how much I influence like little people, because they come up to me and they hug me or they love on me when they see me. This week also, my son had a championship game, a basketball game, and so he plays for Parks and Rec. So this is really like his last year playing Parks and Rec, because now he's going to start playing for the school. So that was exciting as well. So it's been nice. I've had some quality time with my sons, with my mom and my grandmother. So that has been nice. So that's what I'm thankful for. Your turn, Maddie.
You're still you pulled a Nick Day.
I did. Sorry. For me, it's been a big week, and I am thankful. That's why I'm wearing my smile shirt today. I've made it a point. I told myself, again, wake up thankful and be grateful for everything. So first, at the beginning of the week, as you guys know, I belong to a poetry team, and we're getting ready to compete. So right now we are on the writing stages, and it was my first time so basically what we do is we each write to a certain topic, and then one of us will take it and we mash it together and kind of make a rough draft of a poem. So it was my first time doing that, and believe it or not, I've been on the team for forever, but this was my actual first time putting together a rough draft. And when I finished, I wanted to cry, because I'm like, this is terrible. It is so bad. I suck at this. And, and we decided, they hadn't even read it, and they were like, oh, okay, so we'll just bag it. And then one of the girls was like, no, let me read it. And she read it, and she goes, this is really good. So it was like, I was feeling bummed out, because I was like, man, this is my first time, and I was supposed to nail it, and I didn't. But it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. So I'm very thankful for that. And then yesterday was a huge day for me because, as you guys know, I've been going through my own weight loss journey, and yesterday I hit my 50-pound mark. So I have lost officially 50 pounds. So excited for that, and I got my new car yesterday. So
Oh,
thankful all around. So it was a big week for me.
that's good. Good, 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 good job. Okay, Nick, tu turno.
That is awesome. I love seeing both of you ladies smile. That's always very contagious. Um, I'm thankful for this little one, puppy. Bye, papito. Go lay down, okay? um, so, um, this last week wasn't too eventful. I've been kind of battling getting sick, allergies. Asiel wasn't feeling too good. So I kept having to, they kept calling me at school because he was just needing a little bit of help, cleaning up some little accidents he had at school. So I actually was thankful that I have that flexibility with my business, that I'm able to stop and go and help him and then come back. So that was really nice. I think that I was in the middle of a training call when I got the call, and I was trying to like panic. I was like, how do I make sure that I turn off my camera, and I accidentally unmuted myself. And then I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. So I had to hang up and run, go to the school. But um, I think it's a blessing to be living in a day and age when we have that flexibility to just be able to stop, go, still be a mom, take care of our little ones, and come back. So I think that was as stop and go as it was for me, because I had to do it 3 times during the week for him. It was nice that I we're so close to his school that I'm able to do that. I think back, like when we were in Venezuela and I was going to school, I was in the nurse quite a bit. We lived a ways from school. We lived like 30, 45 minutes. I can't remember. So I know my mom couldn't do the same thing that I was able to do. So es una perspectiva de las bendiciones que tenemos.
Yeah. That's true. And I'm glad you bring that up because that's our topic today, like hardships that women go through. Hardships es como los sufrimientos que las mujeres pasan. So sometimes is the lack of, we're looking for like equality, right? In the workplace, at home, socially, economically, in the workforce. We deal with a lot of things that men don't deal with. Sexual harassment, sexual abuse, taking time off because we're pregnant. So all of those things that play a role into us wanting equality, but we're not equal, because we have different roles. And also just a lot of discriminations, a lot of judgment, the type of women that we are because we're so diverse, in reference to our roles, how we're able to multitask. So I don't know, like, because I was reading an article about this and I was like, wow, like we really deal with a lot of stuff. There's a movie that I'm watching right now. It's a series. It's called Villamizar, and it's the English translation is Blood Ties. It's on Netflix. It's a series, so it has to do with the 1800s when the Spaniards were in what we call today Colombia, right? So it's these three girls, their sisters and their dad and the mom. So then the mom ends up getting shot by one of the Spaniards people. So then the dad raises them to train them to like handle guns, swords, horses, just how to like ser luchadoras, right? Y él no le importaba, o sea, que fueran niñas, a él no le importó. Like he continued to train them. So he trained them to be like that for a lifetime. And so their goal was for them to, have revenge over the people that killed the mother. But eventually you kind of go through the phases that they go through, and it's no longer about revenge, right? And I just think that sometimes we go into like I hate the fact that because I don't want to be equal to a man. Honestly, I don't want that, right? I like the essence of me and the essence of being a female. Um, but there are some things that can be a little bit more fair, but not necessarily equal. So Maddie, I don't know if like you've experienced something like that in the workforce or even being a poet, right? To be able to, like, I don't know much about the history of poetry, but to be able to go to an event or an open mic event where, where women truly accept it like that, right? Or even to have a bilingual poem, like how was that? You know what I'm saying? So tell me a little bit about maybe some experiences you've had where you felt like it was unfair or you were treated different because of your gender.
I think we experience that, all the time, not only being women, but being Hispanic, being bilingual, being, it's like we keep talking, we have like all the strikes, all the X's, and then you have to kind of be better, much better than everybody else to kind of make up for the lack of that they see in you, and kind of not fall into that. At work, I see it all the time where, it's easier to see a man being promoted to maybe a branch manager or a vice president leadership. They give us titles aside from your actual job. So you definitely see the men advance a little bit faster, than the women, and we see that often. I'm glad to say though that, we do get the opportunity as well, because I did, but we see it a lot, definitely. As a poet, you mentioned like the history of poetry, and I remember, I think there's a movie with Gwyneth Paltrow, where she wants to be like an actor during the Shakespeare, times. And back then, if you wanted to do poetry or do acting, you had to be a man. So she had to dress as a man to be able to partake in, into her poetry. So we do, I think, that's the great thing about the creative community. Maybe sometimes we're not taken as serious as men, but the space is open and it gives you the opportunity to go in there and show off. Like I told my girlfriend, sometimes it's like, okay, be prepared because you never know when you're going to get the opportunity. And when you do get the opportunity, you better show out, so
Yeah.
it's like, be ready. So I'm grateful for those little moments. But I mean, we do see it. And I think a lot of it is also pressure that we put on ourselves. Because I think, like you say, we multitask so much. And I'm talking for myself, you do so much. And I want to be great at everything that I do. And sometimes we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we do and what we do accomplish. And sometimes, we kind of mute our own voices and like, nobody's going to want to listen to what I have to say. But we have to get into the mentality, of this is what I have to say. I'm going to let my voice be heard and I'm going to let my words speak for themselves, And I found great reception in that, because sometimes, again, I write things that I think are only for me, but they're not. So
Hmm. Yeah, that's true. And I think, I know for me personally, there's been a lot of situations that I never know that people are watching or listening until they tell me. And I'm like, wow, like, I didn't know. So sometimes, and I don't overthink the things that I do or the things that I say because I just do it out of heart. Um, and so I think people can kind of see that, but it's true. Like, I like the fact that you said that the platform is there. It's just what we do with it. And like you said, we have to be prepared once that platform is there. So I think that that's key as well. What about you, Nick? There.
So this was it's great because like a lot of what Maddie and what you've been saying, Viana, had like really resonated, and I me conecto con lo que están diciendo. Um, I think for me, it's like I've always been very aware of the situation of like the lack of equality in some areas or the biasness. But I never felt that it was okay to speak up. I think a lot of it has to do with what we were taught from our culture, like, respeta y todo eso. But I think what the younger generations have really helped us, is really be able to voice the things that are wrong, voice our opinions, and help educate others in areas where we can improve on. So I think that that really has helped me. I think where I really saw the biggest bias for me was when I became a military spouse, because a lot of the things that what I was seeing in the opportunities or the services or the things that were when I first became a spouse was really tailored to um, not empowering women to, specifically women, to be able to have a fulfilling career. And so a lot of the things that they were saying, oh, you can have a career, but they were focusing on like MLMs, like Tupperware parties or candle selling. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like some people are really good at that and they can make a lot of money, but that's all that they were tailoring to. And so they really weren't helping and empowering women to say, yeah, you know what, you have to juggle a lot more, but there's ways for you to kind of work. Certain careers allow you to that. If you're an attorney or even teachers, it makes it very challenging as you move from state to state because of licensing. But that's one of the things that I saw from the very beginning. And I felt like we were just seen as bodies who have children, and that's our purpose. Which to me, I think it's a beautiful purpose, but that's not the only reason. There's so much more that we can do as women. Even conversations, like I would try and go to places where I was interacting with other spouses, and it was all about kids, like everything, like your kids. But if you wanted to say, hey, what do you like to do for yourself, like is there anything you like to do as, you know, an individual, and it was back to children. And so I really felt disconnected, and I struggled a lot getting pregnant for many, many years. And so my trajectory into that was very different, and I often felt excluded. I heard some things that were very hurtful, and I didn't really correct people or correct other women in that sense of like, hey, you don't know what's happening. Um, but I think that experience drove me to say, I'm going to make it work on my own terms and thrive and find my own ways to shine. And I think that going through those challenges really put me in a whole different realm than I was. Like I always think that, you know, what would have my life had been if I had never met my husband and stayed complacent in my last corporate job. I know 100% I wouldn't be where I am today. I would probably still be at the same job, not really doing the things that I'm doing now that, you know, I felt like that's lo que Dios me puso a hacer, you know, that's where God put me to do. So it's through that adversity and being able to say, hey, here's a problem, here's how I'm going to find my solutions and work and try and failed. I failed a lot. I still fail, but I think it's just like, you know, sile, dale, échale ganas, you know, keep going, trying. And that for me was, I'm not going to let people and biasness tell me what I'm supposed to do. You know, I want to be able to help other and empower others. And, you know, I still experience it today, but I think I'm a lot more vocal about telling people like I'm a working mother. I have a little one, so my time is more challenging. But I've I've found some people, and sadly it's been women, that they tell me, "Oh, I know you have a little one, so I don't know if you can do this." So it's like that whole assumption, like,
Mhm.
"Don't come with me. I don't know if you can do this." Like, ask me, "Can you do this? Is this, you know, I run a business." It's not because, you know, don't take this as algo que me frena, you know, something that holds me back. Because I'm a mother doesn't mean that actually makes me even better, because I can do a lot more. I know how to manage adversity or things that kind of get out of whack. You know, like I was saying earlier, stopping things to go take care of my little one. It's easier for us to do it because that's how we've been, you know, fueled to navigate. So in that realm, that's kind of what I've experienced, and it's where I'm not going to settle for letting people tell me what I should or shouldn't do.
Hmm. Yeah, because people tend to put limitations on you, but it's really a reflection of themselves.
Yeah.
That's why, like, I'm big on like not assuming things. Like, I always ask, you know, like, hey, can you do this? Hey, did you say this? Right? Because
Hmm.
I don't ever want to because I know what it feels like when it's done to me. Right, when an assumption is placed on me. So I'm big on that. Even during good conversations, during a conflicting conversation, I always ask. Like, I'm big on that because I'm telling you, and then it creates conflict because then you take it to heart. You know, when somebody says, "Oh, because of your little," I don't know if you have time because of your little one. No, like, do you have time to do this project? Because it's irrelevant whether you have a little one or not. Because I could have other issues. It's not just the little one
Yes.
that can get in the way. So I think, yeah. So I'm big on that. And I think also Maddie, I know you were saying like calladita te ves más bonita. Like you,
Oh,
like I
sí.
never heard that. I've never heard, like it's never been said to me. I have heard it like in media and stuff like that, but I've never, like, you guys, was that told to you directly?
Maybe not directly, but like you said, it's stuff that you hear and that you know, especially if you're in a room full of men, especially in our culture, maybe growing up, I could tell you like when I was younger, you would, you walk in a room full of adults and, the children are not allowed to speak. You don't have a voice, you don't get to have an opinion, be quiet and, go to the corner, that kind of thing. So you grow up feeling like that, and then, but yeah, I mean, we hear it all the time. Calladita también más bonita, like no, I'm not here to look pretty. I'm here to, show you what I can do.
Or you could do both.
Hmm. True, true. Yeah, I'll be killing it at both, though.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's so important when you guys talk about having a voice. So this past week, I have a friend of mine. She does a lot of academic stuff for kids that have learning disabilities, and so she was in a group setting. She had them on Zoom, and everybody had to say something, right? And they're little. They're like elementary, and so there's one kid. I couldn't see her screen. I could just hear the voices, and I was like, oh, that's so cute. But then one of them talked and it sounded like a robot, right? And I was like, oh my gosh. She said, so then she told me later, so the student can't talk. So they have a machine on him and the machine talks for him, right? And I just thought that it was so significant, right? Because today, it's so important to have a voice, and we have the technology even for somebody that has a disability like that, right? And I just thought it was amazing that we have these things in place and how important it is to have a voice. And some of us don't. And I think sometimes, like, and as you were talking, Maddie, made me think about my childhood because I'm an only child. So I was always around adults and I didn't talk. So I just watched. I watched and I listened. And then when I was a teenager, I was very timid and I didn't really talk when it came to like gatherings. I really didn't come out of my shell probably till like my late 20s that I started to explore and accept who I was. So I was kind of like late versus I see other children today and how they so easily express themselves. Sometimes in a negative manner, but they're still expressing themselves and it comes so easy to them, like their personality, because they have no fear. They're used to hearing their voice. So yeah, I thought that was kind of like amazing. And then Maddie also said, "You don't know how strong you are until being strong is all you can do." So tell me a little bit more about that. What do you mean?
I think, again, as women, we put we've been told, and we're surrounded by a society that puts so many limits on us that, I think, we doubt constantly what we can and cannot do. um, and I think, sometimes it's like, I, like the first thing that comes to mind is, I always used to think, I used to tell my mom, like, I don't know what I'm gonna do when you die. I don't know what I'm gonna do if you leave me. I'm gonna die right with you, and I don't think I could live this life without you. And my mom passed away, and it's been a year, and here I am. So it's like I didn't think, like, the whole process, the whole thing, mom dying, burying my mom, putting her on the ground, and like leaving, like all of these things, like I still think about it, and it's still hard to think about. But I have 3 children. I have children that, my children are semi-adults, but they do depend on me. I have a family, I have a husband, my dad's still with me, so, um, there's I still got other things to live for, yeah. So, all you can do is be strong, you surprise yourself because you're like, okay, I didn't know I had that in me. I didn't know I could go through that. I didn't think I was going to be able to make it through that. So, sometimes now, like I hear my daughter say the same thing that I used to tell my mom. Mom, don't die, because if you die, I'm going to go in the casket right with you. And I'm like, I just smile and I laugh because, I know she's going to be okay, because the kind of, that's who we are as women, we are stronger than what we think we are. So,
Mhm. So what are some things that you have done to empower your daughter?
I think, like the best thing I could say is, you lead by example, and sometimes we think that our children are not watching, that they're not looking, that they're not paying attention, but they are. They are looking at us. They are looking at what we do. They are paying attention. So, just experiencing all these things and having her around me, so she was able to be with me, when mom passed, she traveled to Dominican Republic with me, and she was there holding my hand, and picking me up and being strong with me. And then she had her moments, and I was there for her as well. So, and support, I think, it's important, again, as women, that women know that we understand each other. And even if we don't understand, that we are there for one another. So, again, I will always have my opinion. I will always have something to say because I'm your mother and I'm allowed to have an opinion. But I'm always here to support you no matter which decision, no matter which way you go through, I'll be right there with you. So, I think that is huge, because again, we doubt ourselves, we question ourselves making decisions. But when you know that you have the support of somebody that you care about and that person is always going to be there, I think that is huge, especially for a woman that is coming into her own.
Hmm. Yeah, that's good. I like that. So I just wanted to acknowledge Tangi. She said hola. And
Hola.
Angelica Rivera also said, and there was somebody else that said, hey, what's up? But I couldn't read the name. But thank you for watching and listening to us today. Um, but yeah, I think that a lot, as you were talking, it just made me think about the things that we do and how people are watching us, people that we live with and people that don't live with us as well. Um, Tangi says, I would say the same thing to my mom. I can't live without you. And Tangi's mom passed away as well. But now that she passed away, I feel like she has passed the torch to me, and we live and carry on because this is what they would want us to do. So, yes, definitely, Tangi. And I think it brings you strength. It brings you strength to be able to overcome, to live through a pain such as losing your mother. So I think that it just, you find strength and makes you stronger. And then your kids are watching you, how you went through the process, and you're teaching them strength. I think that's awesome. So one thing that I kind of started to think about as you were talking, Maddie, and I want to get Nikte's opinion about this. So this past week, I was listening to something on TikTok, and he was saying, women always want to be fathered, right? So you're with your father, and daddy's little girl, and then once you get married, is like you're being sent off to like another father figure, right? So it's like we're always looking for this father figure to continue to be with us, right? And so it also made me think about how we get rid of our last name and we take our husband's last name. And I know even on a biblical aspect, it was just a transfer of possession, right? So I think it just depends how you look at it. It's a transfer of possession, a transfer of someone taking care of you, because we do want that protection. We want to feel security from our mate. So Nikte, I don't know what you think about that in reference to the last name and the role that you go, because I know you definitely went through the role from you had an active father in your life, and then you have an active husband in your life. So tell me what you think about that.
Here we go. I love that question. Uh, I I was very blessed. I am very blessed. Tengo una gran, o sea, me siento muy bendecida. I think one of the things that I loved about how my dad was always very tough with me, and not in a bad way, like in a good way. He always pushed me when I wasn't doing good in school. My dad like literally grew up dirt poor. He was very, very poor. Like their house was like literally on dirt and they had a tin roof. Um, And he would show me how he put himself through school because my grandpa had passed away when he was 13. And so my dad lost his dad at a very young age. So he had to learn how to be a man at such a young age and put himself through school. So he'd always push me when I wasn't like doing, like working hard enough. And I know, like, I would always tell my dad, why were you so hard? And he's like, I know you could do it. Like, I wanted you not to be able to depend on anyone else with your education. Like, I wanted you to be able to have your education so that you can go get a job and really strive for more. Which, in my dad's Mexican, in the Mexican culture, you don't see enough of that. And I felt so thankful for that. And I think it was because of his experience. And so, that always, like, my dad always, like, pushed me. I love that I was into mechanics when I was younger. So he would teach me some of the things, and he wasn't like, I know las mujeres no trabajan con los carros. Like, he was like, all right, let's go, let's figure this out. So it was really cool because I
Yeah, because
really
there was
just,
a period that you were working on a car, right?
yeah, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'll have to show you guys photos. My first car was a Ford Focus, and I wanted to fix it up. But of course, we didn't have the money to buy me like the Honda Civics, or like that was like the cars that you would fix up. And I know our cousin William was doing that. So like he inspired me, but I didn't have the budget. So I took off the wheels on my car and I painted the brake calipers. Like, I figured out how to do that on my own. And then I took out, my dad was traveling, and I told him I took out part of the dashboard and I spray painted it yellow. And my dad's like, oh my gosh, you ruined the car. You know what? Tú lo dañaste y con eso te quedas. You'll stay with that.
Yeah.
And when my dad got back, he's like, oh my gosh, this looks really good. Like, you could not see any streaks. Like, it was like perfect. And it was stick shift, so like, I just would fix it up. And it was really cool. And I think my dad, like, at that point, he's like, you know what, I shouldn't have doubted you. You did really cool. Like, hey, good job, keep doing this. So it was really cool that I, was being able, like, to be nurtured in those little things. And then when I met my husband, I think he had a very difficult upbringing too. And so there is something, I think, about the men in my life, like my dad and my husband, that because they've had difficult upbringings, like, it makes them, I think, more honest, more hardworking, and tougher. I think my husband is the one that, because we've talked about this in the past, like, llora por todo. I would cry about everything. And, se montó una mosca en mi cabeza. I
Literally.
mean, exaggerating. I wasn't that bad, but, I
He's not
was very,
exaggerating.
very, yeah, I would, not for flies, but I would cry a
Yeah.
lot. Like, it just, because I think a lot of it, I held a lot of my voice growing up. Again, the whole thing about when you are adults, you don't say, you don't interrupt.
Mhm.
And so that made me kind of like, I can't say anything because I'm walking on eggshells. And it was my husband who was like, why are you crying? We're adults. Let's talk. And I'm like, I don't know why I'm crying. I'm just like nervous. I'm like, why? Let's just have a conversation. And it was so odd for me in the beginning. I'm like, I have never been able to be freely to say, like, I don't agree with this, or this is how I feel, and not feel there was going to be consequences. I think that because I think I saw such toughness on the women's of my family, that it was more like, no, you got to suck it up and just keep going. You're not allowed to have like these emotions. And I talked about it, that my family used to make fun of me that I was so emotional, but I turned that around. I said, okay, there's power in how I can tap into people's emotion, like that empathy. But now I balance it with, I'm not going to go and cry, like, I think that has made me stronger. So having those, strong males, and that if they've had their own hardships and they've been able to, like, openly tell me, like, oh, this is the things that I've experienced, but it made me stronger, I feel more empowered through their journey. Because sometimes, and I don't know if you ladies have experiences, that sometimes some men can say, yo sé todo, I'm all the, I haven't had any hardships. I've encountered some of those where they kind of have this, you know, big role that, like, I'm good, I know everything. hmm And it's really great when you can have conversations with men and they are saying, like, oh, I've experienced this and this is how I've gotten better and past that. So I think it's been so empowering. And You know, where I am today in my business is a lot because I had the education that my dad was able to push through, but also that my husband has supported me, because there's been times where, especially when my son was in the NICU, that I wanted to quit my business because it was very hard. And I have to give myself credit because I know no other, like very few other women would have been able to do what I did with my son, all the surgeries and all that stuff, and still find time to grow their business. But he's the one who told me not to quit. He's the one who pushed me, que me apoyó, me dijo, okay, tómate un descanso, you know, like take the break. Now's the time to do that. So I think I felt very blessed, very lucky, to be able to have those. And sometimes still I talk to my dad and I tell him about experiences that I've encountered. And I ask him, you know, how did he deal with that in a room with other males, or how did he deal with, like, you know, these things that I don't 100% understand because I'm a woman, but, you know, learning that. And so it is, yeah, it's a blessing. Es una gran bendición poder tener esa conversación. And I think that is because we all have boys too, having like, how do we empower continually like our children to be that way for whoever they're dating, or as they get married and their children, you know, like instilling that sense of letting people have their voice and being okay, like Maddie, where you were saying, is letting, you know, your daughter know that you're still going to have your opinion, but she's able to share her own, you know, that I think is so powerful. And like even Viviana, with your experiences of how, you know, you were more quiet in your younger years, and now it's like you're doing this, you know, you speak, but I think that all those years you were quiet allows you to tap into people more when there's that conflict, because some people just like, they interrumpen. I'm like, no, 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 I'm gonna tell you my opinion without like that. Okay, let me pause. So yeah, I think it's these wonderful experiences that I keep going back. Ya me
Yeah,
están diciendo que me calle. No me hagan preguntas
no, she's
entonces.
talking about me. She's like, Viviana no se calla ahora. It's true. Because I could talk for hours now. I wasn't able
Oh
to do
yeah,
that before,
yeah,
for real.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I think that I think you've had a good experience. I think it's awesome because, and like how you were saying, the importance of for this to carry on, right? Because I think the essence of you being a crybaby all the time, right? That's who you are. But you're still, I think you're still that sensitive being. You just do it in a different way. Because if you weren't that being, then you wouldn't be as loving as you are today. Like I'm not very loving, like Nikki is. I'm not. I'm kind of like cutthroat. I promise you, but I do have sensitive times. Like if I had a daughter, I guess she would have to be tough. But sometimes in the inside, like I'm super soft, extremely sensitive. It's just that, and if anything, I think a person like Nikte is even better because like that softness, I couldn't get it out. Like you were able to get it out. Like I've encountered some women that they just talk and they have no filter and they say the craziest things ever, right? But I kind of like it because they have no filter and they're just being themselves
Mm-hmm.
versus somebody else that is a camouflage. So I
Mm-hmm.
would rather get that female that talks this nonsense at times because she's just being herself. There's no, you know what I'm saying, covering.
Mhm.
So I kind of like, I can't be around it too much, but I understand it. And I just think that,
Go
yeah.
ahead. I'm sorry.
So I think it's just the part of like being respectful of who people are, right? So I'm not joking that Nikte was a crybaby because she was, it was the truth. And she did cry over everything. But it makes you who you are today, even though you're not constantly crying, but you're constantly giving and your heart is still there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was gonna say that I think it's also as you get older, you realize that it is okay. Because like you said, Nick, that you were a crybaby and you can cry, and then but you know what? You cry for a few minutes, and then you get up and you keep going, and then you keep surprising yourself and you cry again, and then you get up and you keep going. I remember when the twins were born, um, my husband, had to stop working, of course, to stay home with the boys. And then my husband had like 5 jobs, and he would come home and sleep, and then go to one, and then sleep an hour and go to the other one, and it was constantly like that. And I had the kids by myself, and I remember like not being able to sleep at night, for whatever reason, feeding the kids, and I was up most of the night, and I would get so frustrated, and I would cry, and then I would go and knock on the door because he would sleep downstairs, so that he could get some rest, so he could work his 5 jobs. And then I would sleep upstairs with the boys, and then I would bring the boys and just put them in the room crying and be like, take your kids, and then I would storm out of the room. And then 5 minutes later, I would come back and grab the kids and go upstairs, and keep going. And like he would wake up, like, what the heck is going on? And then, but he knew, like, after a certain, after doing it a couple of times, he kind of knew that I just needed 5 minutes, and he wouldn't say anything. And then, I would come back and get the kids and go. So saying that to say that there's, like, we have to kind of tell ourselves, like I said before, give ourselves grace, and teach ourselves that it is okay to break down, that it is okay to fail, that it is okay to things not to be perfect, and you can cry about it, because I'm a crybaby too. I cry for everything. Even when I'm frustrated and I'm angry, my first reaction is to cry. I cannot have an argument, because if I argue with you, even if I know I'm right, you'll see the tears come out. But it's okay. It's okay, because you keep going. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. I was listening to a lady too, because I'm always like trying to do self-improvement. So I'm always like listening or reading to stuff. And she was just saying that, as we go through hardships, right? We always it's like I guess we never get there, right? Like we're never like arrived. Like this is it, like everything is in order, everything is great. She said it's an ongoing healing, and you kind of go through phases of life. So you thought you had healed something from when you were younger, and then because that has happened to me sometimes, like I think that I healed it, I think that I forgave the person, but then like something comes up and I feel like crying, or I kind of go back to that place again, and I'm like, dang, like I'm really not healed. And so I have two choices. I can continue to see myself as a victim, or I can continue to seek for healing. Um, but sometimes in my moments, and like you, Maddie, like when I get frustrated, my go-to is to cry. Like the words don't even come out of my mouth sometimes because I can't get the words out. I'm frustrated. Like I'm thinking as to what I want to say to you, but maybe it's good that I don't say it because it's probably like bad things that I will regret later. So maybe it's good that I cry. Because I even a couple of years ago I got introduced to the, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the emotional wheel, but it's like a circle, and it's a wheel, and it's like filled with emotions, like all these words like fear, anger, happy, like everything, right? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't know all of these emotions existed, because I always thought the word was frustrated. Like that has always been my word. I feel frustrated, and like that's it. I didn't know that other things existed. And that wheel has helped me to embrace that it's okay to feel these other feelings. And now it's easier for me to label those feelings. And sometimes I don't have a label for them, but I'm like, whatever it's called, right? And I'm okay with calling it that, like whatever it is. It's just that feeling or whatever. But I think sometimes we do we do those, and like you said, to have grace, because it's okay. It's okay that we get angry. It's okay that we get mad, because it's so easy to accept the positive ones, but we tend to reject the negative ones. But I think even the negative ones are good ones as well. Um, so Nikta, you didn't finish the answer to my question though, in reference to the last name and the
Oh,
trans from one to the other. I want to know what you think about that.
I went on this whole circle tangent.
But I
Um,
love it.
I think for me it was very important. It's that I think because I went from, my dad's last name is De Anda, so like that was my maiden last name, and there are no more like de andas to pass it on. You know, like my brother's literally like the last male who could pass on the last name and the tradition, the la herencia, and the history. And the same thing with my husband. Like he is the only boy that can pass on Cuevas, his last name. So I think for me it was very meaningful that I took on a last name that holds that meaning. That his dad is no longer with us. I never got to meet him, but he looks identical to his dad. Like there's Viviana, you haven't seen this, but there's a photo that we have of his dad. He was in the army, and I thought when my husband had that photo, I was like, babe, why did you dress up as like the army? Like it's a vintage photo. And he's like, no, that's my dad. I'm like, it looks like identical. And there's photos of my husband when he was a boy, and my son looks so much like him, identical, like the curls and everything. And so it's like when you think about that, it's the last names hold. It's not just letters; it's the history that is transferred. Like it's not transferred, but it's kind of like you're welcome into this history. And now you have, you know, history from one side of the family to the other. And like I think with my parents and my husband, they've been very welcoming and embracing of him and into the family. And even though sometimes there's that language barrier, I think that, you know, they, especially my dad, like he makes that effort to like talk. So I think that there's that sense of camaraderie or like mutual respect. And there's one thing that my dad told me that I'll never forget, that he said, you know, this is something that every father hopes for when they have a daughter, that when they meet their spouse, that they feel like, okay, I don't have to worry about my daughter anymore. Like if she needs anything or anything, like now she has someone who, like, it's that like transfer of um I don't say ownership, because like I jokingly tell my husband, you don't own me, you don't own me, and we just like joke about it. But it's that transferring of care and the traditions, you know, like you start a new tradition, a new life with someone else, and it's kind of passed on to that. And so it's kind of, again, it's kind of pasándole el batón, you know, the like if you're running a marathon, you know, it's kind of like how I see it, as that. um yeah, because I feel like our last names hold so much story and history, that it's that nice connection of our names. So yeah, that was my long response. Yeah, ahora sí. How about you ladies? How do you feel about, even like within your own last names, like our maiden names? That I know Viviana, you talked about one time about Suta Chan, like one of our last names, and you know, how much of that history do we explore, as you know,
Yeah.
throughout our families?
When I went to Colombia, my dad, so my dad's last name is Andrade, right? So that's my maiden last name. And so they hasta tienen un escudo de Andrade. Like he wants to get a tattoo del escudo. But there's, like you said, there's history in the name, right? And that's really what you're carrying on, is not necessarily the possession that you're being like slaves, right? Like you're going from this man to this other man, but there is history in it. Um, because I think the men have that last name, they carry the last name. And then as women, we help to carry that last name as well. But it is the history. And I think just because, let's say if I get married and I get rid of Andrade, it doesn't mean that I stop being Andrade, if that makes sense, right? So it's still going to be there. Um, when I got married, I didn't think about it because I was just like whatever. So I just got rid of my maiden last name and I got his last name. But we're divorced and I still have his last name, mainly for the reason I like the fact that my children and I still have the last name. And there's a lot of history in their last name because they've been here a long time and the family is huge. So it is significant. Even sometimes I joke with him and I tell him that I'm going to be like Tina Turner and I'm always going to keep the last name. But I really just do it because of my boys. I like the fact that we have the same last name, but it is of significance. Also, Lili said, es importante tener un nombre que te dé confianza. El apellido también te pone en propiedad del hombre, and she put a question mark, y el apellido de nuestras madres se pierde. What do you think, Maddie?
Like we said, there is history, and just because I changed my name, no significa que voy a dejar de ser lo que soy. So I remember when I got married and we went to get our marriage license. We filled it out and we handed it in, and the girl started asking us questions, and she's like, "Oh, your name and blah blah blah," and then she goes, "Will you be changing your name?" And we both answered at the same time, and I said no, and he said yes. And then we looked at each other and we cracked up. And then she's looking at us, okay, which one is it? So I thought that was hilarious because I wanted to keep my name, and he was like, "No, you're changing your name, whatever." And I agreed to change my name. However, my maiden name is Ramos, and I am very proud of my maiden name. But my mom's name is also Lozano. And I remember a few years ago, we did a family reunion, and we came up with like a kind of like a little logo for the family, and it's simple, but we all loved it. And I have a tattoo of my mom's last name, and the history. So it's like you are who you are, and again, I love my father's last name, my family, the history on there, but also my mom's family is very close, and they're here in the States, and I grew up around them, and we are still extremely close. So yeah, just because you change your last name doesn't mean that you stop being who you are. So
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. But yeah, I do like what you said, Nick, there about the history of the last name, because I really didn't think about, like, I knew it because I know the names have history because they come from something from someone. But yeah, I like that. I like that. I like that. Let's see, Nick. Tangi is also saying, in reference to her father, she said, "I so wish I had the experience with my dad. It is crucial and set the tone of female relationships with men because in her interactions with her dad, you're really blessed for this." She's talking to you, Nick, I believe. However, God does fill in the gaps when you have a relationship, a fatherless relationship. God will put good men and uncles, cousins, and strong men in your life. You're a strong woman, and thank you for sharing this, warrior sister. But yeah, I
Oh,
think
thank
sometimes you
you.
don't have those male dad models, but you may have other ones. Like for me, for a long time, it was Nicte's dad. Like that was my dad when I lived in Mexico. And when I think of, because I was with them between like 5 and 9. So during those times, I have memories of him. Like he was my dad. And then after him, I really don't have dad memories because my dad wasn't around. So her dad is really my dad when I was little. And so and I have expressed this to him as an adult because I don't think he knew. But a couple of years ago, I did tell him that he was like my dad. And he's so like he's not your typical stereotype of a Mexican man. Because he's strong, he's tall, he's like strong. He speaks strong. His voice is strong, but he's also this delicate being. And when he talks to you, like I don't ever remember him screaming or getting upset. I don't know. Maybe because I just have like positive experiences with him, but like you can have dialogue with him. Like he allows you to have dialogue. It doesn't matter how old you are. And I just think that that's pretty awesome. That's true, Nick, there, right? Like that's how he is today.
Yeah, he is still, and even if it's something that we might not agree on or something like that's something that I feel super lucky that my dad was, he allowed me to have a voice or ask things. I think I never felt the confidence to ask him about certain things, like more like, deeper things, but he always had that open door policy. And even now, till this day, he tells us, if you have things going on, or call us, ask us, because you never know when we're going to be here one day and one day we're not. And so like when he tells me that, I'm like, oh, like it gets me, because it is true, and I try to cherish that. And um, yeah, he's he's awesome about that. Y él siempre dice, yo no quiero vivir en Disneylandia. Tell me if something's, going wrong, or like you're stressed, or, and I love that. He's like, yeah, we don't need to live in a Disneyland world. And I think that having conversations and allowing ourselves to talk about things, like even what we do in the show, where we might talk about topics that are really deep, or we might disagree on something and have different perspective. It's never been like don't say anything. It's kind of like, that's what I love about what we do, is that it's las conversaciones, experiences. And I think that if we can, as humans, como sociedad, como mujeres, como personas, do that more often, we start to build a better world, because people don't feel, I feel like sometimes people need to read the room and have a little bit of filter. Like you were saying, people like Viviana, like that they'll just have no filter. I have a friend that is like that, and there's a few times when she said things that are like way out of line. I'll
Out
be
of
like, no,
line.
hey, no,
You're like,
no,
oh,
that's not
God.
nice. Yeah, I'll be like,
Yeah.
that's not nice to say. Um, the old me would have like me quedo callada. I'm like, ay, no, no soy enojada. I'm like, no, like I now tengo más tacto. I don't know how you would say it in English. Um,
Tactful, to be
tactful.
tactful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess that's it. To like approach those, I guess not confrontations, but really kind of letting people know, like, hey, that's not a nice thing. Like, I think I had an experience where someone had sent me a really beautiful, when my dog passed away. Like, I'm a very big dog person, and one of my close friends had done, like, I have it right in front of me. She took a photo of the last days with my dog, and she wrote this beautiful line on it, and she got it printed on a canvas and everything. And I didn't know who it was from, because it didn't say from. So I messaged a friend and I said, "Did you send this to me? This is really sweet. I'm trying to figure out who it was." She's like, "I would never use such a horrible font." And I'm like, "Are you are you?" I blurted out. I'm like, "That's really rude. Like, we're talking about, like, I would never say that. I don't care what font it is. It's
These
the
graphic designers, I tell you.
Sion. It was This is not even a designer. That's the thing. So, and it's not a bad font at all, but like that upset me. But I was like, ya no tengo pelos en la lengua. I'm like, I called it and said, that's not a kind thing to say. And then, she corrected herself. But I think sometimes it helps, that balance of, again, being able to have that voice. Like you were saying, Maddie, too, is like being able to be in those environments where we can feel like we can still express ourselves, and the other person express themselves, and it's okay when you don't see eye to eye, as long as we're like, okay, this is how you see things, this is how I see things. And you know
And also, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, and that's
Mhm.
the thing with art, especially, you can say something and, you can love it. And damn, Viviana might not like it so much. Same thing with visual arts. So, if you have it hanging on your wall and you're grateful for it, then great. I'm glad you enjoy it. I
Mhm.
personally wouldn't have done it that way, but if you love it, that's great. And I think we need
Mhm.
to learn to respect that.
Yeah, I agree.
Hmm. Like, have you heard? We're almost done. We're ready for your poem, Maddie. But have you guys heard of the I statement, where you're supposed to say "I feel" and then you talk about the feeling that you feel, that I feel
Mhm.
whatever,
Mhm.
because when you do this, and this is what I need, like, from you the next time. I need to
It's a
use that myself.
powerful, it's
Yeah.
powerful. It makes it less blaming on the other person.
Yeah. I used it one time and then I forgot to use it again. But when I used it, it was like the person and I had really good dialogue. And she didn't even know that we were using the I statement because she doesn't know about it. Yes. So next week, we have Enrique with us, right? We're going to talk about the imposter syndrome, right? I think I got my guess right.
Mhm.
So that's going to be exciting. So we're ready for the poem. Thank you, ladies. I hope that you have an amazing week. as always, and see the good in the week, to see the good in the people that we come in contact with, and that we can respond in a positive manner. So we'll see you guys again next week, but we're ready for the poem, Maddie.
Yay. Okay, so first of all, before I get into poem, happy birthday, Viviana. Have an amazing rest of your day. Keep enjoying your
Yes.
day. And wonderful conversation today, ladies. So this poem that I'm going to read today, I was going through my old writing and I found this poem and I'm like, I wrote this? So it kind of hit. It's called Home. And kind of touching on the sometimes we view home as a place and there's so many things that can be home. So home. So sometimes all we need is our senses to find our way home. Look for familiar memories that transport, that make you close your eyes, that make you wish you were gone, gone to that space where you can breathe in. Home. Is that feeling on your skin, a hug from the cool breeze, and the birds sing you a song in the back of your head? You swear you heard guiras, tamboras, acordeon. Music is home. Is that plate of food you decide to eat, not because you're hungry, but because every bite consists of a time in your life you want to relive? Is specifically knowing what's being celebrated because of what you're eating. Holidays have names, dates, specific dishes, arroz con gandules, roast pork, ensalada, tostones. Home. Hearing voices at the other end of the phone, caressing your heart as the words flow of the story goes on, when you know that there's a smile behind every word, when they're telling you chismes of el barrio, but all you hear is, I miss you, sis. I miss you, bro. Home. It's receiving a hug. Breathing mommy's scent. She smells like comfort, like hold on tight. It's always being with you, like you will always be mine. The world will never go wrong as long as I am in her arms. Home. Closing your eyes and feeling home with every memory and every thought. It is not a place where you go to. It's on those things you hang on to. It's that place in your head that puts a smile on your face when you think of a word that wakes up your senses, when you feel the love that reminds you you are home.
I love that,
Thank you.
Maddie.
Yeah, that
Thank
was
you.
good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
That's
Mark,
such
and we'll see you guys next Sunday. ¿Te vas a decir algo?
gracias.
Okay. This is a what is it called? Bloppers? Bloopers?
Bloopers.
We need
Bloopers?
music.
I'm thinking of home right now. I'm thinking about my música in my head. You guys can't hear. I don't know. Maybe I need to put my head to the mic.
I saw a couple of people this week dancing like in the street, and I'm like, what are they listening to?
Oh, that's awesome.
Bad Bunny.
Yeah, yeah, they're listening to Bad Bunny. Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's funny.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Sandy.
Mark. Yes, Tangi, thank you for all your
Thank you,
feedback.
Tangi.
So we're just gonna end the show, but we'll see you guys next Sunday.
Yes. Thank you. Gracias.
You know that song, More Than Words? Gosh, I hope your culture is just more than words. More than words on a wall, more than words in a handbook, more than words on a website. More than words. How is your culture showing up, living and breathing every single day? Food for thought. My name's Shelley Smith, and I am your culture curator.
I'd like you to imagine with me, if you will, opening an app where you can collaborate with like-minded individuals from around the world, get inspiration and in-app tools to launch and grow your business, as well as share your knowledge and earn compensation, all in one app. Well, the name of that app is Truso, short for Truly Social. Hi, I'm Matthew Newman, the founder and CEO of Truso, a new concept in social media. Truso is designed from the ground up to be a platform that's both social and empowering for all its users. How exactly do we do that? I'm glad you asked. First, Truso brings the world together via video. Psychologists assert that video provides a significantly more effective connection than audio only. When you enter a community on Truso, you're face to face. Second, on Truso, you don't have to have 1 million followers to monetize. Our business model allows all hosts and moderators to monetize, no matter the size of your following, by 1, producing fee-based content, and 2, inviting others to join the platform as subscribers. Even more, Truso has an in-app resource library with over 100 free resources, forms, and documents to help you build your brand and grow your business. Third, Truso is inclusive. The deaf and hard of hearing communities make up 360 million people worldwide. Unlike audio-only apps, Truso embraces this community, providing a networking platform that allows them to participate via video and closed captions. We even have a deaf and hard of hearing foundation in the works as well. Fourth, Truso is both social and safe. We refer to Truso as a virtual extension of the beauty shop, barbershop, and brainchild of the community. A place where there's laughter, along with wisdom, growth-oriented conversation, and genuine connections in a safe space. Truso even has proprietary security to ensure we maintain a safe environment for everyone. Where are we at now? Truso is live, y'all. We've launched in beta, and we're acquiring users daily. We have an incredible development and marketing team, plus amazing celebrity influencers at the table, helping us spread the word around the globe, beginning within the African diaspora and beyond by creating a safe space for growth, connection, and collaboration. We're truly excited about Truso. We've created something special for which there is a global market. And we invite you to embark on this journey with us as a shareholder. The future for Truso is truly bright. Join us and let's go there together.